Now we begin with the review. Batman Court of Owls is the first volume of the New 52 from the main Batman title. Batman is considered by many to be one of the best titles in the New 52 reboot. Before going into the story, I want to talk about two things. First is that there's not much sign of a reboot in Batman continuity, or at least in this specific volume. I know that Catwoman no longer knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and that Barbara Gordon is Batgirl again. But the only things that are different that I can truly point out in this specific book is that the Batsuit is a little different and the characters are a few years younger. Like Gordon, he's got his like brown hair again. It's very easy to forget that this is part of a big event in the company, and I think that's actually a good sign. It allows the readers to just completely focus on the story being told here. Second is that when I bought this book, I may have been overhyped. I had heard much praise for this run so far, and it does not disappoint necessarily, but not much seems to happen in this first volume. Now, before I am shunned for not starting this review with glowing praise, don't worry, it'll come soon. Before reading the book, I already knew that Batman is put in a maze by a guy working for the Court of Owls called the Talon, and a broken Batman has to defeat him. Not much more happens beyond that, which again did not disappoint but subverted my expectations. That being said, this is the introduction to Snyder and Capullo's run, and it sets up many points that will probably come into play in Night of the Owls and beyond. So I imagine that the unquenched thirst, quote-unquote, feeling will go away once I read more of the run. Alright, now that we're past that, let's talk about the art. Greg Capullo's art looks very good, and it makes me feel like this comic has high production value, which is a feeling I don't really get that much when reading a comic. I'm not saying that that most comic art nowadays sucks, but all I'm saying is that this feels very professional. The only other comics I can name right now that gives me that professional feeling is Batman Hush and Astonishing X-Men with John Cassaday. My two favorite moments that deal with the art are two splash pages. One of them is where Talon stabs Batman and the page is upside down. That was very cool. And the coolest is when Batman hallucinates himself as a gigantic Batman monster lashing out against the Court of Owls. I love how stylish Greg's art is, which I think comes from his work in Spawn, but it's a little toned down, except in the hallucinations, in order to fit in a Batman comic. I do have two things. Why is it always two things in this book? I only have two things that I don't love about the art. Sometimes the coloring feels a little bland, and a bit too gray looking. I would have liked bolder colors here and there in the environment at least. I have no problem with Batman himself being black and gray. In fact, I usually prefer it that way. It's just that there's not enough variety in the coloring. By the way, my ideal Batman, like the way his costume looks, is like his cape is black and it's got blue highlights, like in Batman the Animated Series, but he's got the ovalus symbol and the pocket belt. I love the pocket belt. Anyway. Since there's not much variety in the coloring, I think this book would actually look pretty cool in black and white. That would be very cool. But like they did something like that for Batman Hush, where they just released Batman Hush like in pencils. Yeah, that's not really worth getting. You know, like you read Batman Hush in color and everything, and it looks gorgeous. So what's the point of getting the same thing again, except in pencils? But that's beside the point. I'm pretty sure that this was intentional, but could anyone in the comments please tell me if there are upside down pages in each copy of the book? That was something I don't think I've ever seen intentionally in a comic. And it was weird to read a few pages going from the right page to the left page. It's a little difficult to explain, but okay, it goes. I'm reading, right? I'm reading like normal, left to right. The page. I'm reading the left page and then the right page, and it's vertical. Then it goes horizontal, and so I'm reading like up, down. Right? So, I'm still fine there. I'm reading up, down. Then I turn. And then like for a few pages, it's up, down. Then I turn the page, and then the page is upside down. It's vertical, but upside down. And so now I'm reading from the right page to the left page. But it's not like manga where like the balloons you have to read left and right. It's just the pages are. It's weird, but the page that you read first is the right page, and then the left page, and then it goes back to normal with vertical and reading the left page and then the right page. I guess I was as disoriented as Batman having to go from regular page style to horizontal to upside down. I was fine with the horizontal, but when it went upside down, I even double checked to make sure I was holding the book right. Scott Snyder focuses on the theme of what Gotham City is, just like in his previous works, like The Black Mirror and Gates of Gotham, which I have not read Gates of Gotham, but I do know it deals with the history of Gotham City. However, this book is different from The Black Mirror. In The Black Mirror, there's the whole theme on the city that's focused on is that Gotham City is a reflection of whoever is Batman. Now, in Court of Owls, it focuses on something different. It focuses on the fact that maybe Gotham has always belonged to the Court of Owls instead of the Bat family. So that I found that very interesting. The rumors and stories and nursery rhymes about the Court of Owls go back to Alan Wayne, who was Bruce's great-great-grandfather, excuse me. The horror/suspense aspect of Snyder's writing on The Black Mirror returns for his run on Batman, especially when Batman is breaking down psychologically in the Court of Owls labyrinth. This scene specifically made my mind call back to Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison, where Batman has also been damaged mentally. Scott Snyder's writing on Bruce Wayne himself is actually pretty interesting. Scott Snyder got to write Dick Grayson in The Black Mirror and in here as well, and Dick Grayson is still written perfectly. And now on his new Batman run, Snyder shows us that he understands that there is a profound difference between Dick as Batman and Bruce as Batman. What's interesting is that Bruce isn't cold and emotionless, but he also has some wit, especially when investigating with Nightwing, except in the final issue of the book after Bruce gets out of the labyrinth. It also seems that in the beginning of the book he is very comfortable in Gotham, where there's a breakout at Arkham Asylum and he's about to apprehend all the criminals, and before he does he smiles, and he just says there's no place like home. Another instance of this kind of comfortableness that Batman feels is when he plays chicken, quote unquote, with goons on train tracks, and there he also smiles. One of the things I like most, or one of the things I truly I find cool about Batman as a character, is how completely in control and confident he is. In the video game Batman Arkham City, my favorite lines that Batman has in the entire game is before the challenge maps, where he tells his enemies just how in control he is in one sentence. Kevin Conroy's delivery in that game is pretty well done. And I especially love when he says, "Just you guys, pity." In Court of Owls, he does begin with that confidence. He is Batman after all. But after being thrown in the labyrinth, he is taken down a peg. He still manages to beat the Talon and ruin his standing in the court, but he realizes that he underestimated the court and that Gotham was never really his. Gotham is not a city that he can be comfortable in no matter how long he has been in it. Bruce tells a story about how when he was still a child, he thought that the Court of Owls were responsible for his parents' murder. He called it his first detective case as he tried to find the court, but he never did. Which is why it takes him so long to accept the fact that the Court of Owls has always existed, and it leads to Batman underestimating them. And the Talon, too. He underestimates Talon. Scott Snyder also uses the first case to show how Batman has changed, not making, his investigations personal, but in the end he really does make the investigation personal, and no matter how much he tries to deny it, it's influencing his process in this book. The end of the story leaves me aching to already have the trade for Night of the Owls, where it seems that Batman will have to fight zombie owl assassins. Okay, that's going to be pretty epic, especially since right now the Owls are invading Wayne Manor. Overall, The Court of Owls is a knockout book, but I think it will only be as good or better than Black Mirror until Snyder finishes his run on the main Batman title. This is really only the setup, after all. Court of Owls is incredibly well written by Snyder, and Greg Capullo, for the most part, does absolutely fantastic artwork. If you want to read something from the New 52, or just a good comic in general, I really recommend you pick this up. Thanks for watching, and once again, stay tuned for more reviews. I think next time I'll review either Beast Wars or Avatar The Last Airbender, Book 1, Water. Feel free to voice which one you'd rather see reviewed most in the comments. So thanks again. Really recommend Court of Owls. Bye.